PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PACTV Community News. We have a great show tonight with stories from the South Shore. First up, we take you to Pembroke High School, where students were given a national award from Congressman Keating. And we head to the Alden House in Duxbury, where people came to trace their roots.
PCN brings you to Plymouth Library for a poetry event, Voices from Within, poems written by inmates from Plymouth County House of Corrections, brought to you by the library through a joint effort from the Sheriff's Department and Quincy College.
We give you an update on the retaining wall project at Grays Beach in Kingston and take you to a baseball game that was held to support the Lupus Foundation.
Pet adoption brings us a new furry friend in need of a forever home, and we welcome on the set Executive Director from the Children's Melanoma Prevention Foundation to talk about the very important topic of skin cancer and young people.
It's going to be a great show, and we begin at Pembroke High School. Now in its third year, the Congressional App Challenge, hosted by members of Congress, is a platform which encourages high school students to develop and submit apps for phones. The program encourages kids to learn how to code and develop usable apps which should support relevant and beneficial community topics. The 2016 winners were announced, and students from Pembroke High School won Congressman Keating's top award. He came out to the school this month to hand out the awards himself.
Today we're here at Pembroke High School expecting Congressman Keating to come for the Congressional App Challenge Awards. The Congressional App Award is a technology award. The kids were challenged to develop an app for social good. So everyone in the class did write an app. They did it in partners. Top award went to Justin Geiser and Alec Lawrence, who wrote a mobile app for a translation to sign language. They call it a handy dandy guide to sign language.
My app is designed to help people communicate with others that speak in sign language. We came up with the idea because there exists a very strong language barrier between people that know sign language and people that don't. So we're trying to reduce that barrier.
In the whole country, different congressional offices house an app contest. And it's just not about science. It's about the creativity, the innovation of taking the computer science that you learn, but applying it to something that's very innovative, very effective, and something that shows your own ability to create.
Oh yeah, I'm very proud, and I am also excited. It's a big honor to win this school-wide competition. I think it's really astounding how he came out here and we get to meet him and he's congratulating us on our efforts.
You see the future innovators, the people that might take this skill and start a business or might be able to use this for some kind of project that will help people enormously in their lives. So
they're able to walk out of this class knowing how to develop mobile apps. They become not users, but developers. And it's such a huge opportunity for them.
What's happening in the U.S. stimulating our economy forward is largely innovation and entrepreneurship and creating new opportunities and jobs. And they're showing the ability to do that here, but they're also showing the fact that they want jobs and they want to create things that will be meaningful and help people. So what a great combination of themes here in Pembroke today.
They can get into a job, they can write apps and sell it. I mean, there's no reason they can't write the next Instagram and be extremely successful in this field.
congratulations to the students of Pembroke who did that. I'm sure kids all over in all high schools are developing apps, and it's really great that they get the award from the congressman. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge when somebody creates something for the public good, especially young people. I think now is the time where our younger generation is really absorbing this technology. Like, I didn't have coding in high school and things like that, and I'm still considered a millennial.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible that our congressmen and our House of Representatives can acknowledge young people creating for the good. I think we need to start raising up tomorrow's leaders. I think it's great, and congratulations.
Congratulations.
PCN visited an inaugural Compass Challenge baseball tournament, which included teams from Plymouth North High School and Silver Lake. The games were all to support the Lupus Foundation, and we stopped in to bring you the story.
Today is the first annual Commonwealth Classic for the Lupus Foundation, where a lot of the premier baseball teams in the state are getting together to come together for two different reasons. One, to raise money for the cause of lupus, and second is to really showcase your skills in a really big tournament type setting where high school baseball around Massachusetts has become like college football, that you have to increase your resume and make it better. And you get nothing but great talent out here, and that's what's going on today. So it means a lot to me personally, because my mother passed away from lupus 5.5 years ago, and I've always looked for a way to give back and to stop this, if I could. I mean, but I'm just, who am I saying myself as just one individual? But I kind of combine the two in baseball and lupus. And my mother, ironically, my parents met at Fenway Park, and baseball has been it's been part of my blood. I grew up in baseball, and so I figured what better way than to honor my mother in a sport that she loved. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for baseball with my parents' meetings, so honor her memory through this way of doing it. Lupus is a mystery disease, really. And it's an autoimmune disease that affects people in many different ways. And it's a very brutal disease, and that's why, as you read it here, the cruel mystery, that's what they call it, the cruel mystery. They don't know what caused it, and they're trying to find a way to stop it. And I hope that any bit that we can do to contribute to it, whether it's financially or donation-wise, or just giving awareness to this cause, would help prevent someone else from getting it. And watching my mother suffer from it, I know it is right here a cruel mystery, and I hope that we can help prevent anyone else having that same fate my mother had.
Great quality kids, great teams coming from all over the state competing. It's a great day. There's already been 3 great games with 6 good teams, and the next 2 games will be great too. We're going to play Lincoln Sudbury tonight, and Coach Tachi's undefeated Silver Lake team will be playing a very good West Springfield team. So I just love the quality of baseball that's going on today, and the fact that it's for a good cause just adds to it. Kenny Tachi and I have coached against each other for years, so we have a great mutual respect for each other. And anytime you lose a parent and it means a lot to you, just to be able to help Kenny out in memory of his mother means a lot to me.
Members of the Alden kindred of America can boast the fact that they can trace their lineage back to John and Priscilla Alden. For those out there still trying to trace their history back to these 2 original Mayflower travelers, the Alden House Historic Site in Duxbury hosts lineage research programs to help folks navigate their way through the many branches of that ever-growing family tree. We met up with the genealogist who conducted the latest information session.
This is the Alden Kindred of America Lineage Research Program, which we offer here at the Alden House Historic Site in Duxbury. And besides having a museum and tours and many other interesting things, we offer people genealogical help to show their connection between themselves and John Alden, who came on the Mayflower in 1620. We talked about documenting yourself, your parents, your grandparents, all the way back to John and Priscilla, who came on the Mayflower, which involves 13 or 14 generations worth of documentation. So we were asking people maybe for their where to find their birth certificates, their marriage certificates, long-form death certificates, census records, ships records, deeds, probates especially, and any other source materials that can show your relationship or a generation's relationship to their parents. We had several that were actually trying to apply to the Alden Kindred of America and show their relationships. But this information can be used for any lineage society and also good genealogical practices in general. It's interesting because they were passengers on the Mayflower, so it's just the ring of the Mayflower, you know, it's just the ring of that group of people that came here. Because they were one of the founders of this area, and they were religious separatists, and they have the fame of carving out a civilization in the wilderness here and being a beacon of light onto the world in Europe. Well, a lot of people are very interested in discovering their genealogy in general, and whether they came on the Mayflower or another ship, or whether they came from Ireland, no matter where they came from, they're interested right now in tracing their history back through their own families. And there are many, many, many different records groups and many different ways of going about finding evidence for your own identity going back through the generations. So it's good to come to something like this so that you can get some tips on how to do it.
As part of National Poetry Month, the Plymouth Public Library teamed up with the Sheriff's Department and Quincy College to host a night of poetry reading called Voices from Within. Students from Quincy College read selected poems from the book I Am, which is a publication of poems by inmates from the correctional institution. All were welcome to attend this event, and we sat in to hear several moving poems.
I just want to take one moment to... This month is National Poetry Month through American Library Association. Plymouth Public Library annually does some traditional poetry readings. We use the Tide Pool Poets. Will come next week on the 19th. But we've been working collaboratively with the Sheriff's Department and Quincy College. And we've been bringing education into the inmates and then doing some programs here at the library.
The sheriff is actually very big on events like this. He loves community outreach. He likes letting everyone know the great work that the Sheriff's Department does. And really, the sheriff is just a plain old nice guy. So when we said, hey, Sheriff, there's an event that we're helping to put on with Quincy College and with the Plymouth Public Library, we think would be great if you showed up, he said, I'm there.
Quincy College has a proven track record of building bridges and community development partnerships in the greater Plymouth area. Working together, we have built the bridge of lifelong learning between students at Quincy College, the general public here at the library, and inmates at the Plymouth County Correctional Facility.
We're going to be reading poems from the book I Am, poetry that was published by the Peace Institute, and that was done by some inmates in the correctional institution. So we have some other poems, Emily Dickinson, Walt Whitman. We have handouts for people to read along. This is like a wonderful opportunity to read poetry and hear people's voices.
I hope people walk away from this with a stronger sense of asking, what is it about identity that makes us unique? What is it about identity that ties us together? What is it about identity that separates us? Because that's really been the point of the poems that we've been reading with the inmates back at the department.
This particular collaboration offers a kaleidoscope of perspectives: the student perspective, the inmate perspective, and the general community perspective. Each one is unique and has its own flavor. Combining those provides students an experience unlike any other. So I hope that today the general public will feel that way when they leave.
What I want to do is make sure that everyone feels welcome here at the Plymouth Public Library and of our programming. They can check our website, but we are happy to invite people in, and we will share any literature, classical music, culture, reading, family literacy. We're here for the community.
More great projects brought to us by our public libraries, and poetry readings are coming back, I think. They're like story slams. They're suddenly becoming more prevalent in our community. And what a unique take to have inmates that wrote poems and reading them. I think that's great.
Well, I think what also is really fascinating is I think you're right about poetry and story slams and people having a collective human experience together. I think it's really coming back because we live in a fairly isolated society. And then what I also find fascinating about this is we take a group of people, inmates who are culturally and societally isolated, and then sharing their stories. And I think it's great. I think it's a very human and artistic way to create bridges, like
and a
said.
Great collaboration between the students and the library and the public in general. Very, very good. And the Sheriff's Department, good for them for doing it.
Very beautiful.
Over the past few years, winter storms have taken their toll on the barrier wall at Grays Beach. And if you've been down there, you've seen the chain link fence that surrounds the stone structure. Representatives from the Kingston Recreation Department, Conservation Commission, and several other interested parties held a meeting at the beach to discuss plans to make some more permanent repairs to the beach. The meeting was open to the public and the press, so we dropped by to get the scoop.
Tonight, the Town of Kingston representatives from the Recreation Department, the Board of Selectmen, Conservation Commission, Facilities, and our engineer from Horsley Witten Group is here to put on a community meeting for the neighborhood and the community at large to talk about the Grays Beach restoration.
So we're doing this project, basically we had a big storm a few years back, and it actually started to, the stone wall is in disrepair and it's pretty dangerous. So we've been trying to get some funding and some support through town. For the last year and a half, we've been working with an engineer firm who's been coming up with some ideas and different options for us to do with regard to the revetment of the stone wall. And the informational meeting is just an opportunity for us to give information to the residents of Kingston and have them have an opportunity to ask questions and be able to answer any questions that they have so they have a better understanding of the overall project.
The failing revetment is a public safety issue, which is clear with the chain link fence. It not only is an issue for safety, but it doesn't look very nice in the summertime when you have a chain link fence on your only beach, and it continually falls down, and it costs the town money to have it put back in place. Because it is the town's only beach, we've had a lot of requests for increasing the size of the beach, increasing the quality of the sand, and generally just increasing the quality of the beach overall. The overall estimate for the cost is about $800,000.
It is a big potential project, but we also have reached out to some other statewide organizations. We put in a grant from the Land, Water, and Conservation Grant, an application for that, which potentially could fund up to $300,000 in reimbursement money. We're working at a park grant, which is another grant from the state that could also support some money. We have some local residents that are interested in making some donations. We're also looking at working possibly with the Silver Lake High School, Regional High School carpentry program. They were interested in possibly rebuilding the concession stand in an amphitheater if that were to go forward. So we're looking at a lot of other resources to try to figure out how we can help support this project and also have it be a little bit more cost effective for the town of Kingston.
Our pet adoption spotlight brings us to Kingston Collection and the Friends of the Plymouth Pound to meet Gizmo the cat. We also got information on their food bank and the upcoming events that support the Friends of the Plymouth Pound.
Most of the time, any cats, they're kept here. All our dogs, on the other hand, are with foster families, whether they be single or a family until they find their homes. We're not here enough to take care of them, so they get the best of both worlds, get to live with a family, get to interact. We really get to know that particular dog's personality, their likes, their dislikes, whether they can walk on a leash, what kind of training they need. So when they do go to a new home, as with a cat, we know that personality. We can do a really good match with a potential adopter. This is Gizmo. He's been with us for about a year. He's a black, gray and white short-haired kitty, all up to date on shots. He's been neutered, he's microchipped, been dewormed. He was surrendered to us for a family and medical emergency. They couldn't keep the pet any longer. I mean, needs to be an only kitty. Would be best in a very, quiet household. Loves to sit on your lap. He's very talkative. Likes to play with toys. He likes to be center of attention. He's a sweetheart of a kitty. Like you said, he's about 6 years old, and he loves to sit in people's laps. He purrs. He's a real sweetheart. He's a great little guy. Pet food bank, we have food donated to us that we don't use as a regular food here within the adoption center, and it's available to people that need it. They can come in, they can take what they can carry. We offer bags. They have to sign a book. It's here for whenever we're open, which is 10 to 12 and 4 to 6, Monday through Sunday. They can come in, like I said, take what they can carry. It's for people that are in need, and it's been very well received. Friends of the Plymouth Pound is going to be at Bark in the Park, which is May 6th at Nelson Park. It's a big dog rescue thing. There's vendors, there's music, there's food. It's a really great day. And then we also have our golf tournament coming up, which is June 10th at Squirrel Run Golf Club. All the information will be here at the Adoption Center as well as online on our website, friendsplymouthpound.org.
We are so pleased today to have on set Mary Ellen McGuire Eisen, who is the Executive Director of the Children's Melanoma Prevention Foundation. Welcome, Mary Ellen.
Thank you, Julie. It's great to be here.
We're so happy to have you here about this really important subject. Let's start with May is Melanoma Awareness Month.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that, and then a little bit about the foundation.
Well, melanoma is a type of skin cancer that is increasing. They expect that this year in Massachusetts alone, it's going to increase by 27%. So the American Academy of Dermatology have started a Melanoma Awareness Month, and Monday is Melanoma Monday.
Melanoma Monday.
So it's a great day to get the word out that anybody can get skin cancer anywhere on their body, and everyone needs to check their skin.
Okay.
So I started the foundation because I'm a nurse, and I have been a nurse for a long time, and for me, it was always a sin when a person died of skin cancer.
Right.
One person dies every 45 minutes from skin cancer in the United States, and it's preventable and easily recognizable. And I knew as a nurse that nurses could really play a big role in terms of educating people about prevention and early detection. I was a nurse practitioner working in dermatology, and 15 years ago, I decided to start the Children's Melanoma Prevention Foundation to teach children
the good, healthy habits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission is to prevent skin cancer by educating children and also working in the area of advocacy.
Right.
So we had worked on getting the tanning ban last year in Massachusetts, so kids less than 18 can no longer tan.
Which is great. Those
Thank
tanning
you.
beds are 18 and over only now.
Correct.
Right. So you don't have 13, 14-year-olds baking in those tanning beds.
Right.
Which is wonderful.
Right.
That's wonderful news.
So we have a program in schools. We teach about 80,000 kids a year where we go in and provide fun and informative programming, and we're also out in the community. So we have 3 educators that go out, and we teach about 140 days a year.
Now, do schools contact you and say, we'd like you to bring your program in here?
It works all different ways. So yes, they contact us, but we also go out to school nurse meetings and we contact the schools. We just looked at it. 90% of the schools that we teach in rebook us for the following year.
Yeah. Oh, well, why wouldn't you?
Well, you know, it's really hard for schools to give up time on learning to something, but we really have built our curriculum according to the Massachusetts frameworks so that we can show the administrators time on learning when we come into the classroom.
Sure. Let's talk about the rays that actually cause skin cancer.
So,
and you have a graphic that we'll show also. Go ahead and explain what we're looking at here.
So skin cancer is the most common cancer in the United States.
Yep.
5 million cases every year in the United States. This year they expect there to be over 86,000 cases of melanoma.
Okay.
The majority of skin cancers are caused by overexposure to ultraviolet rays.
Okay, which is the sun. Yep.
And the sun has 2 different types of rays that are able to penetrate the atmosphere.
Yep.
The A rays, which are really long, which you can take a look at the illustration
that I
created.
All the way to the way deep into the skin.
Exactly.
Yep.
They're very long. They come through the atmosphere. They go through windows. They go through our skin. And in the base of our skin, we have these little pigment-producing cells called melanocytes.
Yep.
They make melanin. When those cells see too much UVA, they secrete more melanin, which floats to the top of our skin, and our skin turns brown.
Oh, okay.
So we know that
That's why freckles come out.
Exactly. And we know why they're implicated in skin cancer. And then the B rays,
which are the shorter rays,
much shorter.
Yeah.
90% of the B rays are blocked by the ozone layer.
Oh, okay.
Only 10% get through.
Okay.
But 50% of children experience a sunburn every year in the United States, even though we know that sunburns in childhood are associated with melanoma in adulthood.
Right.
So protecting ourselves from UV rays is essential in curbing the skin cancer epidemic.
Okay. Now you have about preventing is that you have a chart that has a hand on it, and the hand shows the different things that you should do with the
sunscreen.
Yeah. So the thumb The rule of thumb.
Well, first I want to say that sunscreen is the #1 thing that people like to use to protect themselves, but it's not the recommended thing.
Okay.
First thing is to stay out of the sun, not go into midday sun if at all possible.
Right.
#2 is to wear sun protection clothing,
Yep.
hats, sunglasses, long sleeve shirts,
Right.
rash guards.
Right.
The third thing is sunscreen.
Okay.
So we just created this illustration to try to teach people about proper sunscreen application because people do not use sunscreen properly. #1 thing people like to use, but they don't use it properly. The average American uses a quarter of the recommended dose of sunscreen.
And this says you should fill your hand.
Exactly.
Your entire handful, which is a lot of sunscreen.
It's 1 ounce.
Yeah.
So a handful is an appropriate dose for you because it's relative to your size.
Right.
So it takes 1 ounce per application to cover your whole skin when you're wearing a bathing suit.
Yep.
Most people use a quarter of an ounce. If you use a quarter of an ounce, you get a quarter of the protection.
Right.
So we recommend that people use a handful.
Yep.
We also talk about the importance of reapplying.
Yes.
Rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours.
Because you sweat and you go in the water.
Yes.
And
at least every 2 hours. So if you're in the water, you need to check the label for water resistance.
Right.
And water resistance is either 40 or 80 minutes you need to see.
Okay.
If it's 40 minutes, you have to get out of the water and reapply.
And do it again. Okay.
And I also talk about the importance of the UV index.
Yes.
People do not know that UV peaks in June, and it's easier to get a sunburn in May than it is in August.
Oh,
On average, it's higher in May. So people think UV correlates with temperature.
It doesn't.
doesn't.
Okay. All right.
So that's a really important point.
Okay. Now you have a graphic here that shows a little boy who's kind of on a camera, and it looks like he's got black all over his face. This is one of the tools you use to teach children how to apply sunscreen. What are we looking at in that graphic?
Well, Julie, what we try to do is make our program fun and informative.
Yes.
So we have this UV video camera that does 2 things that we're able to illustrate to kids in the classroom. So we bring this into the classroom and set it up. First is it shows pigmentary changes secondary to the sun.
Okay.
So it highlights sun damage.
Okay.
Freckles are sun damage.
Right.
We're not born with freckles, we get freckles from the sun.
Right.
So it does that one thing. Most people get their freckles right here in the middle of their face.
Yep, or to your nose. Yep.
That's also the #1 place that you get basal cell skin cancer.
Okay.
So we teach the kids freckles will never hurt you, but anywhere you have freckles, you need to give extra special attention.
And by using this camera, you're showing them when they apply sunscreen, how it's completely covering their skin and how important that is.
Yeah, I think it's great to have a visual that
The
sunscreen,
kids love it too. Yeah.
They do love it. It's wonderful for them to have a visual that sunscreen really does create a barrier between your skin and the sun.
Right.
The UV rays break down the sunscreen. The higher the UV index is on a given day, the faster your sunscreen is going to come off your face.
Right.
That's why we say rule of thumb. But it's great because kids can see if they've missed around their eyes, if they've missed their ears, if they've missed.
Right. So, and they'll remember that.
I think so.
We're almost out of time. Unfortunately, this 8 minutes has gone like that. You have a graphic about Watch Your Back where you're stating that a lot of the skin cancer is actually developed on the back, especially in men.
So melanoma, that form of skin cancer, which is the least common but the most deadly.
Yeah.
So melanoma is responsible for 90% of skin cancer deaths.
Yeah.
And men die twice as often of melanoma than do we.
As women, yeah.
Than do women. And it's really important that 1 out of 3 melanomas in men are on their back. Somebody needs to take a look at their back.
Right.
So, and that's what that poster says.
Yes.
You know, so if you can't look, get somebody who
else
can.
to look. So much great information. If people want more information, they'll go to the Melanoma Prevention Organization.
.org.
So it's www.melanomaprevention.org.
That's right.
Okay. Wish we had more time. We'll have you back.
I would love to be back.
Super important information
Julie.
today. It's great that you're going out into schools and doing this for the kids. You got to start them early on those good habits.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary
Appreciate
Ellen.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. To find out more about PCN or to rewatch, check us out at PACTV.org. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next week for another new show, all with local stories from the South Shore. Have a great week.